We have an interesting topic this morning. Not gonna try and sell you what I believe in. I'm just gonna try and explain to you what I believe. Okay, what comes to mind is, I'll be reading a bit if you don't mind. That's why the glass is there. Why do you electricians prefer not to use the push-in connection on receptacles and switches? That's the thing. Okay, we're off. First of all, this is what we're talking about. Every time you put a receptacle or a switch in, you have the choice of using, well, depending on what receptacle you have, what kind, you have a choice of using the screw or the stab in. Alright? Not to be confused, okay, by the way, there's some, you'll find them on GFIs and on the higher price plugs and switches. You stick the wire in a hole, but there's a little plate, a little brass plate, and it's serrated, and it squishes the wire as you tighten the screw. There's a name for that. I didn't write it down. Squish the wire tight. Okay, that's not the same thing as what we're talking here. This is the stab type. Stab in the back. You ever been stabbed in the back? Well, you don't like to be stabbed in the back. Don't stab it in the back of these. That's what I say. Okay. Irrelevant of codes, okay? But I'm not talking about codes here this morning, because I know our code here where I live in Ontario permits this. And there's different makers too. If you go to a high price spec grade or hospital grade, you won't find this. No, you won't find that. It's because it's not acceptable for them, for that grade of receptacle. But in the lower price, like in the 99 cents, I don't know if you can still get them for 99 cents, these receptacles and switches, you'll find that, these stab in the back. Okay. There's not many fires that have occurred with this. So would this mean that it's safe on account of that? I'd say it could be considered as safe, but I consider it unreliable. That's what I consider it. And that's why you'll find most licensed electrician. See, I can even turn the wire. Okay, that's how solid that is in here. Eh? I can turn that wire. Anyways, we'll come back. At the end, I have a picture to show you. Just, okay, just to show you, I don't want to bullshit. I don't want to pretend here. I'm just going to show you quick. This is my qualifications for telling you that I think not the code, I as an electrician, okay, this is the certificate of qualifications. It's written Gator on there. I wrote that down. That's to protect the name of the innocent. Here's another one. See, it's a red seal. That's the Canadian electrical interprovincial standards. Okay, and journey person class. That's me. I have by the way, I have three different licenses. I have industrial license, I have a journeyman and construction maintenance license, and I have a lineman license. Just by the way. And the amount of years, right here, see that? 45 years in the union. On top of that. Anyways, okay, we've done that part. Now, you can trust me if you want, okay, for what I say. yeah, these switches and plugs, they don't cause no fires, but I personally think they're unreliable. And I'll tell you why. When you just got one plug and that plug fails, well, you'll change it, eh? But when you have in a house 5, 10 plugs all daisy chained in the row, and you hook up one of those radiant heaters, okay, they pull almost 15 amps, okay. You're at the end of that circuit, and you have all connections like these. But this wire, okay, which is not solid because I can turn it. So the sun's not solid in there, and this is a new type too, eh? I went out and I bought this to do this video. Okay, I didn't buy a whole bunch of stuff, and I could have done the setup to show you the amperage and all that. It's all irrelevant because it all has to do with what I believe in, okay? Which is nothing to do with the code or nothing else, okay? Anyways, at the end of this, I'll guarantee you that these connections are heating up. And as it heats up, the copper hardens, the brass is gonna eventually fail. Okay, the connection's gonna fail. So what you've installed is maybe good for 5 years, especially if you using heaters in your circuits. Okay, it's good for 5 years, 10 years. It's gonna fail eventually. I guarantee you that it's gonna fail. Okay, we keep on going. I gotta read a little bit here. Okay, yeah. I've seen two lately, like as in the last month. I've seen two devices, okay, like one was a switch and one was a plug. The switch was burnt on the side where the wire plugs in. I'm not gonna give you a course on how to wire a house here, right? I'm just telling you that you can have a plug load which is on the same circuit as a switch, so you can load that circuit down the line. So anyways, or you can even have 5, 6 lights on, maybe more on one switch, which will have some less now with the LED lights. But anyways, obviously this switch had been loaded with something else prior, because it had LED bulbs, and the draw was, I think, minimal for the characteristics of the durability of the switch. But prior to that, they used to have like incandescent light bulbs, and the switch was burnt, and the plug had failed, the contact inside had failed. So the plugs up to here, I had 4 plugs. That particular plug was on, but on the rest of the circuit, they weren't on. Why? So I started checking, and then it ended up, this plug had power. Take it apart, and I test with my tester on the screw, and no power. Ha! It's internal. The problem was internal. Okay. Anyways, pardon me. Yeah, the straight connection, okay, behind the screws, the shepherd's hook, some people call it, that's a solid connection, okay. And the one with the stab in, you're depending on 2 pieces, one which is stationary, and the other one is a chunk of copper or brass, and it's spring loaded more or less. And as you enter, your 2 points of contact on the wire, okay, with the heat cycles, okay, on and off, the copper or brass will anneal itself. It will harden, and then eventually it will cause mechanical, I don't know how you see that, deficiency between the contact, okay, and then eventually it will start to heat, and as it heats, it will create a voltage drop. So you'll start off at 120 some volts at the first plug, and at the end, when you have some load on, at the end you'll end up with 110 volts. So you know what happens then? As your voltage decreases, your amperage increases. So now you're gonna create more heat in your contacts, in your different plugs going up to where your load is. Anyways, that's just my jewels of knowledge, don't forget. So when you do your plugs, or when you change a plug, irrelevant of what you have in the house, if you have as a home owner to change a plug, you can do it one of the two ways. You can do it in the way you stab it in the back and you hope for the best. You hope that nobody ever plugs in something that'll draw enough that it will cause it to fail. Maybe not in your lifetime. Maybe you sell the house and somebody else will have the problem. Hang on, I can't see you. Hey, somebody else have that. But these stab in the back, trust me, they do fail. So you have the choice. You do a cheap job today, you save 2 minutes, okay? Or you do the shepherd's hook, wrap it around the screw, tighten the screw. Now you have a permanent, a good connection. In electricity, okay, and I don't profess to know everything about housing, okay, because my forte in the electrical trade was in the industrial, but we had lots of connections and high amperage draws and things like that, and you could never beat a good connection. Okay? A good connection is a solid connection, not just tight it like, hey, I compare this, you know, like these stab in the backs there for all the automotive guys. It's the same thing as if you had your car battery and you had your cable and you took the connector off your cable and you just put a pair of vice grips on it and you start telling people that that's as good as the connection. It's not, eh? It won't be as dependable. That's one thing for sure. And it will fail one day. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Hang on. I gotta read some more. See, they had a lot to say, eh? Yeah. Unreliable. They cause resistance. This is what this is about. And with resistance, the voltage drops and it produces heat. And with the heat, you have sockets that heat up, and eventually these start to arc and spark. And the sorriest story, it probably doesn't happen enough, eh? So the codes, and I'm talking here in Ontario, okay? This is where I live, okay? Some inspectors accept these, and some inspectors don't accept it. The code doesn't talk about it, so therefore it's tolerated. Okay? So it depends which inspector you're dealing with, and the inspector will tell you, buddy, no, you gotta do it, and you gotta wrap around the screw, not just do one side and tight. Some guys used to do that, eh? Like just have a straight chunk of wire behind the screw, tighten the screw, and you'd see the screw go sideways a bit. But what's the difference between that and stabbing it in the back and having just those two little contacts? I'll show you eventually. I have a picture in here. Trust me. Yeah. For a contractor, okay, doing a new house, as far as I'm concerned, it's poor business sense to do it the stab in the back way. It's because it's unreliable. You may never get a fire, but it's unreliable. You'll be sad. Like the guy on phone, I got half my circuit that's not working in the basement and blah, blah, blah. And you got a guarantee, a 2-year guarantee on the job. So you go back, and with the guy goes back and test, and then boom. So the maybe save 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Hey, he just paid for that, and a little bit of the profit that he made on the house. So it's a question of poor workmanship. That's what I call it. You don't pay the man today, you're going to pay him tomorrow. And if you're the one, the homeowner, and you're doing it, well, you're the one contributing to the problem. I already said that. I'm going to say something here, and this doesn't apply to all the different districts, but just to some, okay? Devices are allowed by electrical code, okay? Like this here is allowed by electrical code, but it doesn't mean it's right, okay? It doesn't mean it's the best. It just means that, I don't know, did the company have enough influence on the inspectors to pass this in the code this year? I'm just saying, I don't know, but there's a reason that they're still doing this. And I know their claim, like I went to the site, the Leviton site. Oh, well, it comes to mind, okay? I'm going to tell you something. I looked at that video, okay? And the wires in the box, I can tell you just by the looks of that, it wasn't done by an electrician, okay? So whoever this, I was going to say another word, this guy is that's showing that this is as good as this here, the stab in is as good as the shepherd's hook. Okay, another thing, ooh, I'm jumping around, eh? Stab in, one time use, throw your switch, your plug away, because as soon as you put a screwdriver in here, you pull that wire out, you've just weakened this tab, okay? The next time you put the wire in, you'll have half, or maybe more, that's just me guesstimating, you won't have as much strength in the spring action, so your contact won't be as good. So it was not the best before, and now it's worse. So throw that switch, throw that plug away, and now you I'm not gonna tell you yet. I can keep it for later. Anyways, yeah, codes say things. I remember when, you remember, well, you guys don't remember, here's that hat thing again. You guys don't remember, you're too young. But when first aluminum came out, oh my God, it was the cats back end. It was the best thing since sliced bread. And then a few years later, whoa, what did they find? Aluminum caused some fires, and then they still use aluminum, eh? But you'll never convince me that aluminum, we seen what aluminum did, eh? We'd wire, this was in my younger days, I was an apprentice, and we'd wire houses in the winter time, and we'd go back, and when we'd put the finishing, like put all the fixtures in the ceiling, and we'd go back, and before you put the fixtures on the wires, you had to retighten the Mars, because the Mars were all loose, eh, in the box. So you had, and plus if your plugs and switches were installed when it was cold, well, you had to go back and retighten them all, eh? So and this was above board, eh? It was approved as ULC CSA approved. So I don't know, I'm just telling you this. It's not a reflection on the inspectors or the people that just an instance, the arc fault breakers, okay, which is a newer thing. Yeah, by the way, in the kitchen on the counters, the thing now is those tree wire I was going to say 220. It's not a 220 plug. It's a separate circuit, the upper and the lower. Now they don't have that anymore. It's just a straight 20 amp breaker, and that feeds the whole plug. It's fed with the number 12 wire, and the plug is a 20 amp plug. And there's a difference between 15 amp and 20 amp. Find out. Not here to give a course on the electrical. Took me 50 years to learn all I know, so you will be able to learn in a few minutes. Okay, anyways, all arc faults and GFI too. I remember when the GFIs, they were all approved. They CSA, when they came out, my God, did we have a lot of problems with them. I won't bother to tell you where. It was outside, but you couldn't get a breaker to stay on if your life depended on that. Yeah, and something most don't know is these arc fault breakers and these GFI breakers, they're expensive to buy. There's only a 2-year warranty on them, and you gotta really fight to get some of them replaced, because it's an electrical item, and usually as soon as you use an electrical item, the companies don't want to know nothing about it. Okay, when you're dealing with this, okay, and it fails, your wire will heat up, okay, like the plastic will melt. You'll lose maybe an inch, 2 inch maybe. I see that, lose 2 inches of insulation. You don't just put a heat shrink on that and reconnect, because then the copper's been heated to a crisp, eh? And that, even if you scrape it, then if you scrape it to get the good copper, then you lose your diameter, your circular mill. I knew the word, but I couldn't think of it. You lose the circular mill of the wire, so then you don't have a number 14, you have an equivalent of a 16 or less, a number 18. So you can't put as much load. Oh, just by the way, okay, when I was in school, that's a few years ago now, we had done a test, okay, and those that want to do a test on these plugins, okay, put the wire in there, put a 15 amp load at the end of your circuit, not just one, but put 4 or 5 in a row. Plugins, okay? Put a 15 or 14 amp load, not a motor load that goes up to 18 and comes back down to nothing when the motor's running. A resistive load. A resistive load is a heating load, usually. Put a good load, a stable load on it, close to 15 amps. Then take a heat gun, okay? And measure at your connection here the temperature, and let it go, and it will take maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It will take that. But when we were at school, we had done a test, number 14 wire, okay, before it starts to change temperature, it was good for 22 amps before the temperature starts changing. Okay, so that's on a good connection. Bad connection, and the stab in the back. That's what I think anyways. You won't get that. You'll never get that 22 amps. Your voltage is going to drop, and then it's going to start to arc and spark in there, and then you're going to get into a problem. But anyways, that's just jewels of knowledge from Gator. That doesn't mean you can stick a 14 gauge wire on a 20 amp breaker and it's alright. I'm just saying. I didn't really say that anyways, because you guys are going to take this to the bank and said Gator told you. No, I never told you that it was alright. I'm just telling you that we did a test. Okay? Yeah, so the wire. See, if you burn a chunk of that wire that connects, That's, if you gotta start changing wires in your house, that's gonna get expensive, eh? You start blowing walls and making holes. The plug, for the amount of time, this here, you have to have done a, a shabby job of the connection. If it gets loose enough to arc and spark, or your circuit's overloaded 100% of the time, and so your circuit is only as good as the weakest link. And the weakest link is always where you have a connection. Even a shepherd's hook connection is the weakest link in the circuit. And it could be on the connection on the breaker in the panel. It could be in the connection, the point connection, like inside the breaker. I've seen that too, eh? But that's another story for another time. But anyways, okay. Yeah, I can turn this by hand, eh? So you're not gonna tell me that's a good connection. Okay, now here we go. I found I was gonna take one of these and split it with a Dremel there, so that you could see inside, see the connection. Okay, because it's not the end of the world. Okay, but I found this on the net. Now whether or not this still applies, see that, folks? Oops, right there. So you got this point of contact, and you have this point of contact. Oops. But you see the wire, oops. See the wire, how it's damaged? See the scraping? See as you as you push it in. Oops, I got a hard time there. Hang on. Anyways, as you push the wire in, see the scrape mark on the wire? So you've damaged the wire by pushing it in. And plus, when you stick your screwdriver in, this presses down on this little plate and it releases the wire. But this little plate is made out of brass or copper, and it weakens, and your wire here will become looser, and then you'll start to have problems. I don't know if this exercise was worthwhile. Didn't do this to pin the tail on no donkey. And I don't like stabbing my friends, so I don't use stabbing the back plugs and switches. And I would never recommend it to no one, never, because I'm sure if you use a screw trike, you'll never have problems. But from what I know, that push-in, you may have problems right away. 5 years, you may never have a problem if you're lucky. But the worst case scenario, you're going to burn your house down. I don't want to make anybody scared here. That's not my intent. My intent is just to tell you what I believe in. I, as in qualified. See, it's Gator. Yeah. Qualified electrician, okay? I have the Canadian seal. Okay, that's right across Canada, and even in the States it's recognized. I can go and work anywhere in the States with this license that I have. And I still have it, by the way. I'm retired, but I still holding. I still pay. See, it's if you want to play, you gotta pay. You gotta pay every year now. See, this used to be controlled by the Labor Board, but now it's under the Ontario College of Trades. But it's still an interprovincial standard. Interprovincial. You know what? I've even worked in the UK, and my license was good. When I went there, I had to bring my certificate of qualification. So that doesn't make me any more knowledgeable, but I know the electricity. I have experience in electricity. Not because my Uncle Bob had a license and I seen him do it, or not because my father was an electrician. I went to school. I spent the time. I seen things. And I'm telling you, don't do that. That's just my word for it. You can do whatever you want now. I salute you all. I will see you in the next one.